Got another GEC here in front of the camera. This is a GEC number 13 Congress, and this is the Whittler version. The number 13s that came out in 2017 were in 4 different configurations. You had first the speaker jack, which was a sheep's foot main and a Penn secondary, both riding on the same side. You had a single blade Warncliffe, which was called the whip. You had the 2-bladed Clerk, which was opposite ends, Warncliffe on one side, and Penn secondary, both riding on the same spring. And then finally we have the number 13 Whittler, which is the only one that comes with the little pin. And this says 13 Series Congress Whittler. And there was 2 special factory orders through Roy Humeric over at American Whittler, and those were an African Blackwood and I believe a chestnut jig bone. This one's in Tidute trim, as we can see by the label here. And let's take a look at what we're looking at. So we're looking at a number 13, 3 for the sheep's foot main blade, 3 because we have 3 blades, 17 for 2017. This is in rust red jig bone. Now, a Congress traditionally would have 2 sheep's foot mains and 2 Penn secondaries. Now, this is a 61 Congress that's configured that way. So you have a sheep's foot, another sheep's foot on the other side, and so they're opposite ends, and you have both Penn blades on opposite ends as well. And the idea of the Congress is that these all come together and there's no liners between them. Hence the idea of the Congress. And so this is a traditional Congress shape with the bolsters on each side and kind of this little bit of a sway or dip in the middle here. And so that's a traditional Congress knife. Now, they didn't come out with a traditional Congress pattern with the 4 blades, but this is traditional Congress shape. And as you can see, compared to the 61, the bolsters are a little bit shorter. Overall, it's not as wide. So it's a little bit slimmer profile than the 61. Of course, this one is thinner, and that is mainly because the Splitback Whittler design allows for a very slim profile. Now, we've seen the Splitback Whittler design before, of course, in the GEC 38 Greenling Whittler. I have yet to do a video on this, but in this one here, we have a clip point main blade, Penn secondary, and coping sheep's foot blade secondary, and it's got that split back design. And with this, of course, the wedge in between the 2 springs is the same color as the spring, so it's harder to tell, but the Apostle P does a very good explanation on how the split back Whittler works if you want more information on that. I'm going to try to do the best explanation as I can on how this works, but it is a very interesting pattern, and it's something that GEC does very well, and I think they're actually the only production traditional knife company still doing it the Splitback Whittler way. So let's take a look at the knife. So, the Splitback Whittler feature, well, this one has the brass wedge there, so we can actually get a better idea of how this works. So when we look at this, we have 2 springs. Now that little gap there at the end there is not a flaw. That is how it works, because the 2 springs meet to become basically a single spring for the main blade. So we have 2 springs that start out on this end, and there's a brass wedge in between it, and it runs all the way down till right before the bolsters hit there, and it terminates, and the 2 springs come together to basically form one stronger spring between the 2 springs. So this allows it to be very thin, because if you look at this, it's very thin on the end where the main blade is, and it's actually not overly thick because these springs are not very thick because they're riding very small blades for the secondary blades. So overall, you get 3 blade configuration in a very small package. Now when we look at the main blade, there's no half stop, and that's kind of traditional with these Whittlers. And we have a sheep's foot blade. Now on the speaker jack, the sheep's foot blade is longer, and that's because, well, you have more room to work with because you're not making a split back Whittler. You only have the jackknife where both of the knives are pivoting on the single pivot in the middle. On the one side, they're not opposite end. So the sheep's foot's a little bit smaller, but we'll take a look at it. So on the sheep's foot blade, we have Tidute cutlery made in the USA and Great Eastern Cutlery Titusville Iron Works on the other side. So no half stop, pretty light pull. I mean, this is a very small knife. It's not extremely small, but yeah, it's not a very large knife. But yeah, the pull is probably like around a 6 or so. It's not a very strong pull, but it's not extremely light either because it is running on those 2 back springs. But those 2 back springs are small because they're running very small pen secondary blades. Wipe that off. And so you got a nail nick, but you can pinch open this because there's enough of the sheep's foot out to pinch it open. Now, because you have the sheep's foot main, it didn't really make sense to do a coping blade, I guess. So they have 2 pens, and this pen here. Actually, let's go to the other pen first. This pen blade here has part of the model number. So you have number 13 and then 3 for the sheep's foot main blade. And then for the rest of the model number, we go over to the other pen. And we have 3 for 3 blades and 17 for 2017. And so normally when you open the secondary blades on the Whittler, you want the main blade open. But GEC, and that's really to prevent blade rub. But GEC did this so well that you can actually open up these pen secondaries without having any blade rub with the main blade. And you look at here, there's very little room for error in the clearance of those blades because that main blade goes in between those secondary blades. That's what makes a split back Whittler so difficult to make. And I think the 38 Whittler here is done even better because look at that, that's even less space for that blade to get between those secondary blades. This was really, really well done. But this is also very well done. GEC does a very good job with their split back Whittler designs. So as you can see, that's how it looks. But yeah, no blade rub. And so you can open these pen secondaries while having the main still closed. So neat little design. These actually still fit in these collector knives pocket slips pretty well. So, and you have no lines on the bolsters because this is Tidute trim. You have that Tidute shield in the middle. I can't remember, I think it's like the whip or something actually has the shield off center towards the pivot of the blade, the single blade whip. So this is in rust red jig bone, and so it's slightly brownish red. A standard jigging pattern by Great Eastern Cutlery. This side is a little bit darker with the rust red. This is a little bit more lighter red on this side. Fit and finish is good. You know, with typical GEC. Catch a little bit on the transitions of the bolsters and the covers, but not much. You know, overall, this is very slim design. It's not my favorite. I think I still like the 38 Whittler a little bit better because it's just a really cool design. But this is neat. You know, Congress Whittler idea. And so how much does this weigh? Well, these are pretty light, as we always expect with GECs. At the scale, 0 in. Looking at 2.11 ounces compared to the 61 4-blade configuration. 2.85. So yeah, it's heavier, has more blades, thicker springs. Overall, bigger knife. But yeah, the 13 Whittler is a nice design by GEC, and again, the split back Whittler design is a statement knife basically by GEC that they can do something that, well, other traditional production knife companies aren't doing. And so it's a neat design. I still think I like my 38 better, and out of all the 13s, I think that I prefer this Clerk better with the Warncliffe and the Penn secondary. I think I just like it better, but this Splitback Whittler is still pretty cool. And it's neat that it comes with that little pin. Yeah, another great GEC from 2017. As always, you can comment down below if any questions or comments. Subscribe for more videos. Like this video if you like it. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.